Disco Doll Studio, we have Laura Eve, and behind me I have Candy Alley. And I'm not going to give you a long introduction, Laura, because there's so much information that I know that you want to share with our viewers about all this wonderful and powerful imagery. So I'll hand it over to you, Laura Eve.
Cool. Thanks, Beth. So I guess I just kind of want to start by saying, right before we started recording, we kind of joked about how this show's been like a year in the making, and that when you gave me my slot last February, a lot has changed since, I had to plan for this. And something I want to recognize with the pandemic is that, a big part of what my show focuses on is Asian culture and the Asian community. So, I think it's important to say, right up front, first of all, thanking that culture and acknowledging them for me being able to make this art, period. But then also the fact that with the pandemic, hate crimes have risen with the community astronomically. And I think that's super important to recognize. So any of my artist profits from this work or prints, anything like that, I'll be donating my artist profits to Asian Americans advancing justice. And I can also give you guys some other links on resources if people want to know anything more about that.
Yes, because I enjoyed so much researching now let's see, Ameya-Yokochō. Am I saying it right?
I mean, you're asking me, but yeah, go ahead.
Area in Tokyo, Japan, and it looks so fun, and you don't want the viewer to think that this is just what's happening there, and then the nod to this Asian culture of what has happened during the pandemic, and people unwarranted feelings towards that. But if you could talk about, though, the show Candy Alley, and what originally drew you to that was this vibrancy, indeed, right? And this, who doesn't like sugar? People pretend they don't like it, but they do. And, the different kiosks that have been run by generations of families and that they make it in front of you, I'm sure it was just bursting. And here at Disco Doll Studio Gallery, we have your imagery from the alley. So if you want to talk about anything in particular, or
yeah, so Candy Store Alley was again inspired by this, like, kind of, I went to this this market in one of the wards in Tokyo. It was a summer I was there in Japan for a couple, and yeah, I just it really just felt like a fever dream of stuff to buy and bright colors, like this market that had, and then when I did research on what the market was, it had a lot of post-war American influence, things like that. And kind of a lot of almost Jeff Koons hyper real imagery in real life. You'll see a lot of giant ice cream cones. I kept on throughout my I feel like everywhere I went in Tokyo and Kyoto, it was such a thing. It's I would keep seeing giant ice cream cones everywhere, and it was just such a source, what you're saying, of sugar coated joy. It's a hyper real world, and that's what made me really excited to capture it and then frame it in Baroque ways,
Right. And there's so many facets, it sounds like, to this Candy Alley. There's this maybe still black market going on that's sort of legit. I read about that. And so the intrigue. And then parallel to that, we have this luxury wanting culture in Japan and Tokyo in particular, and United States and all big cities. It seems like that those luxury brands. And then right next to it is this charming market that you know, it seemed like cash only and things like that, that sport of bargaining, getting the deal, and these unique things. So if you, what else was unique to you other than the ice cream cones and the charge of the sugar?
Yeah, I mean, shopping and buying things is definitely like a all day marathon sport, and very ingrained in the culture there of just like it, like even like if you buy a gift, or if you receive a gift, you should definitely give somebody a gift back for giving you the gift, and things like that. But like, so, and I mean, you see just the accessibility of being able to buy kooky, joy sparking objects over there, that like, one of the things, two of my pieces are called Donkey, and that's in reference to the store Don Quixote over there. And it is literally like, I would say, imagine a better version of Spencer's Gifts, but it's like 5 stories, like 5 like you could literally spend hours in just one store over there. So yeah, and then like, you know, like when you talk about the consumerism, you know, like what's the luxury brands, but then also all the like, I think that's another theme that I thought is really cool, is like, what is fake and what's real? Like, you know, the ice cream cones, they're big and fake, but then another big, I have a bunch of like plastic themed stuff. And I think, you know, that's another just kind of big theme in our world, period, is just plastic stuff. What's fake and what's real? What's even a knockoff, authentic? How do you, what is an authentic thing at this point, you know, like, so that's kind of a lot of different swirls and themes that I was thinking about, along with all the bright colors.
How long did you stay there? I mean, like, did you just go for the day and get these images, or did it take a course of a couple of days, go back and think about it, or you just grabbed them and, you know, made a journal of sorts, and Candy Alley was born?
Well, like I said, it is almost just kind of like a fever dream, that it was 2 weeks over a summer vacation with my husband and my best friend. So it was just kind of it started out as me just kind of documenting stuff as I went, like just for a trip. But then, like I said, like the themes of like the big ice cream cones, or like what really sparked me thinking about the idea of Candy Store Alley is the jacket picture that's right over your shoulder, called Authentic Goods. And that was like it was like we were in the market, Ameya-Yokochō, and they had this, you know, knockoff Japanese silk jacket thrown over a picture of, you know, like this thing, like a Playboy cover, like where it looks like you've got like amazing boobs or whatever. So kind of like the juxtaposition of those things, that's like what really sparked it for me, where I had like this big picture and this big frame. And then once I made that piece, I was kind of like, yeah, the ice cream cones would go great with that picture, like all of these, and it kind of just went from there.
Well, everyone is enjoying it here. We just love it. And the photographer, it's always nice too, because you take us on a little trip usually. And this is definitely a little trip down Candy Alley. Just tell us really quick, what is the correlation to World War II? We had talked about that. That I think I have some notes on. Well, once World War II ended, there was the surplus of goods, and that's where they began selling them. So can you just tell us a little bit more about what Candy, or as far as that went?
Just that, and I'm not super versed on the history of it. I just want to preface that, but that I can tell you kind of where it sparked inspiration for me is just the notion of, again, like that post-war influence and that blending of cultures. So the fact that there were, you know, American soldiers in this area, you know, and the blending of those two cultures. I'm multicultural as well, so it's something I explore a lot, but that like the blending of those two cultures, like with the American and the Japanese, and the influence that had on, I think we talked about this, like the surplus of sugars. There was a bunch of candy shops. There was a bunch of, war goods. I don't know the correct word for that, like military surplus things. Like it was a trade area that was very much about the blending of those two cultures from my understanding. And then even the name for the market, we can post the full name. The full name of it's in my artist description, but Ameya-Yokochō, it's got a different thing of like, people are like, does it mean Ameya, which is candy store, or does it mean, it is in reference to Ame, which is America? So that America and candy store was kind of the, and like consumers themes was really the spark of it for me.
Well, I feel like we leave our viewer with a lot to go research on their own, and the intrigue of it. I was charged by it. I mean, we're so lucky in this day and age to be able to take a short trip in your kitchen to Tokyo and see a market on a Sunday morning. So I was able to do that, but only through your influence and the influence of this show. And where can we find, can you tell the viewers your Instagram and your email, and then I'll go over ours?
Sure. So my Instagram is at Zombie Beach.
Laura, thank you so much for lending us your work.
What is the protocol with people being able to come in right now? Well, COVID.
I'll see you soon, okay?
Might not be the best city in the world. It's the place I call home. Might not have the best galleries